1,847 pounds. That is what arrives on the last Friday of the month. It is what arrived on the last Friday of the month the year before, and the year before that, and if you went back far enough, you would find the same number waiting for you 7 years ago, with a different flat around it. The kitchen is small enough that you can reach the kettle without standing up. There are 3 chairs at the table. 2 of them are chairs. The third one holds a folded pile, a towel, a jumper you meant to put away in March, a carrier bag of things that have no other home. It has been like that long enough that you stopped seeing it. The kettle clicks off without boiling. You press it down again. There is a smell of hot dust, brief and electrical. And then, nothing. 22 pounds for a new one. You know this without looking, the way you know the total of a shop before the till does. You do the sum standing up, in the dark part of the morning, with your hand still on the lid. It is not that 22 pounds is impossible. It is that 22 pounds has to come from somewhere, and everywhere it could come from is already somewhere. You boil water in a pan. It takes 4 minutes, and it works perfectly well. 7 years is not a long time in the way that a war is a long time. It is long in a smaller way. It is long enough that a number stops being a number and becomes a room you live in. You know where the walls are. You know which nights of the month are thin. You know, without deciding to know, the exact day the account stops being a cushion and starts being a countdown. People ask how work is, and you say, fine, because it is fine. That is the trap of it. Nothing is wrong. Nothing has ever been wrong enough to be a story. The first year you counted the months. By the third, you counted the years. Somewhere after that, you stopped counting them separately, and that is the part nobody warns you about. Not the being behind, but the quiet afternoon when the years stop arriving one at a time and start arriving as a block. You drink the tea. It is the same tea. On the way out, you move the carrier bag from the third chair to the floor, and then, because the floor is worse, you put it back. The letter comes in a window envelope, which is how you know before you open it. 95 pounds. That is the increase. It is written in a font that suggests nobody chose it, under a paragraph that thanks you for being a valued tenant, and at the bottom there is a name, Marguerite, and a printed signature that is not a signature. You read it at the table. Then you read it again, standing, as though the standing might change it. Then a third time with your coat still on. 95 is not a catastrophe. 95 is worse than a catastrophe. A catastrophe would at least be an event. 95 is the difference between a month that closes and a month that does not. And it will arrive quietly every single time from now on. You look for a pen. There isn't one. There is a pencil in the carrier bag on the third chair, blunt, with the rubber chewed off, and you use that. On the back of the letter, you write the number that lands, and then, underneath, everything that leaves before you have touched it. Rent, council, the energy that went up in October and never came down, the phone, the travel, the insurance you cannot cancel, and the insurance you probably could. The number at the top was the number you told people. The number at the bottom is the number that was ever actually yours. You had not written it down before. Not like this. Not in one column where the total has nowhere to hide. 295 pounds is what you need to find. 95 for Marguerite, and 200 because you want there to be a 200. You go down the column with the pencil. 41 pounds of things that renew themselves without asking. 34 for a place you have been twice since the spring. 70 for the cabs home on the nights when the walk felt like too much to ask of yourself. That is 145. The rest comes from food, and food is the part that will be felt. You cancel 3 things that evening. sitting on the floor with your back against the bed because the table has the letter on it and you do not want to sit near the letter. None of it feels like a decision. It feels like moving furniture in a room you are not allowed to leave. Gerald asks in the corridor, which is where he asks everything, because in the corridor, nobody sits down and nobody says no properly. "You're all right to cover, aren't you?" It is not a question. It has a full stop at the end of it. He is already half turned toward the door and his hand is on the frame. "Yeah," you say. "That's fine." You have been saying "that's fine" for 7 years, and it has never once cost him anything to hear it. The corridor smells of floor cleaner, and the radiator ticks even in April. You stand with your back against the wall and hold your phone at arm's length because the screen is small and the numbers on it are smaller. You have never read the whole thing before. You have read the last line of it, the line that matters, the one that turns into food, but not the middle, not the part with all the columns. The extra hours are there. They are real. And underneath them, in the same small type, is everything that comes off the top before the extra hours reach you. And the gap between the two is not the gap you had imagined. You had imagined generosity. What is actually there is arithmetic. 7 years of yes. You do the maths on that in the corridor and then stop doing it because it is the kind of sum that has no use. Somebody needs to get past you. You turn sideways and hold the phone against your chest and say sorry, and they say, "No, you're all right." And then the corridor is empty again, and you are still standing in it. That night, the third chair has a different pile on it. A coat you wore in March, 2 envelopes, a hairbrush. Different pile, same chair. You put 200 pounds somewhere it is difficult to reach, and you tell nobody, because there is nothing to tell. 200 pounds is not a story either. Keisha books a holiday and shows you the photographs of the place before she has been there, which is the best part of a holiday, and she knows it. You are in the Thai place on the corner, the one with 8 tables and the strip of silver tape on the third booth where the seam split years ago. The window booth wobbles. It has always wobbled. Elias brings the water without being asked and says your name the way he has always said it, with the stress in the wrong place, and neither of you has ever corrected him. 6 nights, Keisha says. Look at the water. You look at the water. You say it looks unreal, and it does, and you mean it. And underneath the meaning it, quietly, is the other thing. Not resentment. Resentment would be simpler, and you could put it down. It is closer to arithmetic, the automatic conversion of 6 nights into a number, and the number into months, and the months into a stretch of your life you can see from where you are sitting. You are glad for her. Both things are in you at once, and neither cancels the other. The bill comes, and she reaches for it before it lands, and splits it down the middle, the way she has done since you were both broke in the same way. And she does not ask, and she has never asked, and that is the reason you can sit here at all. Later, you go to the laundrette because the machine at the flat has been making a sound. There is a woman by the change machine, younger, counting coins into her palm and then counting them again. She is deciding between 2 settings. You can see the moment she chooses the cheaper one, and the small adjustment in her face afterward that is not quite disappointment. You do not say anything. There is nothing to say that would not be about you. You put your own coins in and sit down and watch the drum turn. Donna calls on a Tuesday evening, which is unusual because Donna calls on Sundays. She talks about the neighbor's fence for a while and about a program she watched, and you know the whole time that there is something underneath it because there is a particular brightness she uses when she is building up to something. It's only a couple of hundred, she says eventually. I'd have it back to you by the month end. Course, you say. It's fine. She says something quick and light about how she wouldn't ask, and you say you know, and she says, "Right well," and the call ends the way those calls end. What does not happen is the part you notice. There is a place in you where the other answer has always been kept ready, the one about this month being difficult, delivered lightly so it lands as an apology rather than a refusal. You have used it. You have used it on her. It starts to come up out of habit, the way a hand goes to a pocket, and then there is nowhere for it to go, because it is not true. You sit for a minute afterward with the phone face down on the table. You have been waiting for that call for years. Not dreading, waiting. There is a version of you that has been standing near the door of that conversation since you were young enough to have overheard the first one. And the thing that surprises you is not the asking. It is that you had it. 200 pounds, and it did not have to come out of anything. That night, you sit at the table with your coat still on, and you open the account. Not a new bank, nothing dramatic, a holding place, one step further away than the one you use, deliberately awkward to reach. The kind of distance that only matters at 11 o'clock at night when something is on sale. It takes 12 minutes. Most of that is finding a document with your address on it. There is a screen at the end that asks you to confirm, and you sit with your finger above it for longer than you need to, and the kettle, the new kettle, the 22-pound one, boils and clicks off, and you let it go cold. Then you press it. 1,400 pounds goes across. That is February to August, 200 at a time. And seeing it in one number rather than 7 is the first time in 7 years that a number on a screen has surprised you upward. You have to move the pile on the third chair to find the letter with your address on it. Afterward, you put the pile back. The cashier does not know. Marguerite does not know. Donna, who has just been given 200 pounds by someone she believes is struggling, does not know. You say nothing on Sunday either. The boiler goes on a Thursday, which is the only merciful thing about it, because the engineer can come Friday. He is there 40 minutes. He does the thing where he sucks air through his teeth, and he shows you a part with corrosion on it as though you will be able to tell, and you nod, and then he writes on a pad and turns the pad around on the counter so it faces you. 840 pounds. There is a moment before you feel anything. That is the strange part. For 7 years, there has been no moment. The number and the fear have arrived at the same instant, welded together, no gap between them at all. In the gap, you check. Not on your phone, in your head, because you already know. 1,800 pounds. February to October, 9 of them, 200 at a time. 840 from 1,800 is 960. That's fine, you say. When can you do it? He says Tuesday. He is still standing there with the pad, waiting for the other conversation, the one where you ask whether it can wait, or whether there is a cheaper part, or whether he does payment plans. You have had that conversation. You know the shape of it and the particular flatness that comes into an engineer's voice halfway through. You do not have it. He puts the pad away. After he leaves, you stand in the kitchen for a while with your hand on the counter, and you notice that you are not doing anything. Not calculating, not opening anything, not moving money between places, just standing. It is not triumph. Nothing about it is triumph. The boiler is broken, and it will cost 840 pounds, and Tuesday is 4 days away, and you will be washing in a kettle until then. 960 pounds. It is the quietest thing that has ever happened to you. The invitation is thick card, and there is tissue paper inside it, which somebody paid extra for. Rosa is getting married in March, abroad, and the small printed sheet folded inside lists the hotel and the rate and the transfer and the 2 nights either side that everyone will obviously stay, because you would, wouldn't you, having come all that way? You put it on the table and you look at it while you eat. You want to go. Vaguely, specifically, you want the dress and the airport at 6 in the morning and the ridiculous heat and Rosa crying at something small, and you want to be in the photographs at the back with everyone squinting. You want it in your chest and not your head. You sit with the wanting for a while. It does not get smaller if you look at it, and it does not get smaller if you look away. So you look at it. Then you add it up, because you cannot not. You write nothing down. You do it with your thumb against the edge of the card, and it comes to more than the boiler. There is no lesson in this. Nothing about it makes you better than the version of you who would have gone, put it on a card, and spent the summer paying for 4 days. That version was not stupid. That version was doing the only arithmetic available to her at the time. You call Rosa on the Sunday, and you say you can't make March and you are sorry. And she says, "Oh no," and means it, and then says she'll send everything, all the photos, the whole lot. You'd better, you say. You put the card in the drawer with the rent letter. You do not throw it away, and you notice that you do not, and you leave it at that. That night, you move 200 pounds across the way you have moved it every month since February, and it is the least interesting thing you do all day. 1,847 pounds. It arrives the way it has always arrived. Nobody promoted you, nobody noticed. There was no year-end conversation in which someone recognized anything, and there was never going to be. And the whole shape of the last 11 months has been built on the fact that you stopped waiting for one. The number did not change. You went and stood somewhere else in relation to it. Kitchen is the same size. The kettle is the 22-pound one, and it boils in 90 seconds. And the letter from Marguerite is in the drawer with Rosa's card. And the rent went up again in February, and you knew about it 8 days before it did. 1,560 pounds is what is in the place that is difficult to reach. Keisha comes at 7 and brings a bottle of something and stands in the doorway of the kitchen with her coat still on and says the flat smells like actual food. And you say it is actual food. And she says, well. There are 3 chairs at the table. You had moved the pile that afternoon, not for any reason. The towel went in the cupboard where the towels go, and the jumper went away in the way it should have gone away in March. And the carrier bag turned out to contain nothing that anybody needed. And when it was empty, the chair was just a chair, and had been the whole time. Keisha pulls it out and sits down in it. She does not say anything about it. She does not know there is anything to say. She puts her elbows on the table and asks about Rosa's wedding, and you tell her about the tissue paper, and she laughs the way she laughs, from somewhere lower than her throat. Later, she reaches for her bag out of habit, the way she has reached for it every time for as long as you have known each other, splitting it down the middle, never asking. "I've got it," you say. She stops. Not because it is a large amount. It is not. It is 2 plates of pasta and a bottle she brought herself. She stops because of how you said it, without the pause before it, without the small calculation that used to live in the half-second between her hand moving and your voice. 4 seconds. That is all it ever was. 4 seconds of arithmetic between the bill, and that is it. That is the whole of it. She goes back to talking, and the plates are still on the table, and outside somebody's car alarm starts and stops. You sit in your chair, and Keisha sits in the 3rd one, and there is nothing in the room that would tell anybody looking that anything happened this year.